So hi everyone, my name is Heather Smith and I'm the Executive Director for Rayjon Share Care. It is my pleasure on behalf of Rayjon, Dolly's Jerk Joint, and Trees That Feed Foundation to welcome you all tonight to Culture and Cuisine. We have a very exciting evening designed to transport you to the Caribbean and expose you to Caribbean culture in some new and exciting ways. We've got a special volunteer, Mr. Gord Wackling, is online with us tonight to help with some of the technical issues. So if you are having a problem, please send a private message to Gord using the chat feature and he'll do his best to assist you. Wow, what a meal. I want to say thank you, huge thank you to Dolly's Jerk Joint for preparing 101 meals tonight. It was Dolly and Raja, two amazing women who did all of that cooking for us tonight. Trust that you have enjoyed it. I also want to make special note of one of the menu items, that coconut cake. So for about the first 50 people who picked up their meals tonight, your coconut cake was a little bit special and it was prepared gluten-free with a special breadfruit flour. So thank you, Mary from Trees That Feed Foundation for sending us that flour. And thank you, Dolly, for being willing to experiment with a new product. We'll be talking about breadfruit flour later on tonight. So you're going to notice how special that was. We hope that you have poured yourself a glass of wine or found a cup of tea and are settling in for a nice quiet evening of exploration. So I want to ask you, when you think of the Caribbean, what is it that normally comes to your mind? Do you think of tropical flowers, sandy beaches, or maybe it's those famous Caribbean sunsets? Perhaps you've been lucky enough to visit one of the hundreds and hundreds of beautiful resorts that line the coastline of Haiti, Dominican Republic, Jamaica, the Bahamas, Barbados, Cuba, St. Lucia, and more. Maybe you're thinking of an island drink, and no judgment here. Well, tonight we're going to take you off-road a little bit. What do you think about when you think of Jamaica? Is it the reggae music, maybe Bob Marley, again, those sandy beaches? And what about Haiti? Chosen an image of the citadel here, surrounded by the beautiful mountains in Haiti. What else comes to your mind? If you go by popular news reports, probably some negative images, maybe hungry school children. Maybe you think about fear or government corruption. Maybe you're aware of the deforestation that plagues Haiti. Or maybe there's something else, especially if you've been a traveler on a Rayjon trip. Maybe you're aware of the history of colonization and slavery in Haiti, but that the Haitian people became the first nation, the only nation in the world to be the result of a successful slave revolution. There are so many things to consider. So tonight, please come off-road with us a little bit as we do some exploring of the little scene side of the Caribbean through the lens of sustainable development initiatives. We'll be talking about progress, protecting the environment, and hope. Let's explore together. And it's trivia time. It's time for our first prize. Does anybody know what's so special about pumpkin soup? What does it commemorate for Haitians? If you'd like to use the chat feature to let us know, or even go ahead and unmute yourself, we'll be awarding a prize to the first person who's able to answer that question. Yay, Regan, first one, awesome. Yes, pumpkin soup definitely commemorates freedom from slavery in Haiti. Traditionally eaten on New Year's Day in celebration of the January 1st, 1804 end of the Haitian Revolution, resulting in the end of slavery in all French colonies and a free nation of Haiti. So congratulations, Regan. I will be sure to get these prizes to you. You are the lucky winner of a Jamaican Eats magazine that is full with some fabulous recipes, lots of breadfruit in there, and some really interesting articles, as well as a special coloring book from Trees That Feed Foundation. So I hope you have little ones in your life, but there's some beautiful illustrations and very educational as well. So I will connect with you after and get that to you. I think we're ready to introduce our very special guest tonight. Mary is here. Her husband, Mike, is also online and will be assisting with the visual aspect of their presentation. So Mike, I'm going to stop my screen share here and you're welcome to begin yours just to get that started while I do a bit of an introduction for Mary. So Mary was born in Jamaica, where she was educated and professionally trained as a geologist. She worked with the Jamaican Geological Survey and later with oil companies in Dallas, Texas. In her varied career, she's also been a school teacher in the Bahamas and a stay-at-home mom. She started McLaughlin Glazeware in 1996, making high-end gifts of enamel and bone china with prestigious clients including Lyric Opera, Abbott, the White House, and Brooks Brothers. In 2008, Mary created Trees That Feed Foundation with the mission of planting fruit trees to feed people, create jobs, and benefit the environment. Trees That Feed Foundation has distributed nearly 200,000 fruit trees, supplied 500,000 meals to school children, and supported smallholder farmers in 18 countries. And please visit their website at treesthatfeed.org for more information. Mary lives in Chicago area with her husband, Mike, and near her children and her grandchildren. So Mary, welcome. We're so excited that you're here. Please take it away.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is exciting. I've been to a virtual wedding, a virtual funeral, but never a virtual benefit. So thank you. And I'll start. First of all, I want to thank you for having me. This is amazing. So we are Trees That Feed, and we have a close relationship with Rayjon, and we're here to support. We're here to talk about what we do and how together we do better work. So before I started Trees That Feed, I often wondered, why is there so much poverty? Why are countries that have good sunshine, hardworking people, so poor, and they just can't escape poverty? They work in the fields, they till the soil, and it's backbreaking work. And I've often thought yes, the government's ineffective, infrastructure is bad, but I really thought that if we could improve farming practices, we could really help to lift people out of poverty. And we had an idea, and that was an idea to help farmers introduce more fruit trees on their farm and develop what I call agroforest agricultural systems. And the tropics are very blessed in the type of fruit trees that they have. And so what we would like to do is the farmers with the best type of environment for particular fruit trees is to have fruit trees that are in the high canopy, fruit trees that are shade grown. You think of shade grown coffee, shade grown cacao onto those trees, and still enough space for their regular crops. So it's kind of hedging the bets, having more trees planted within the farms. And tropical countries are really blessed because they have a lot of many varied fruit trees. And remember, these trees, they don't have winter, so we have green leaves all the time, absorbing carbon dioxide, helping the environment as the trees grow. There's no winter here. So we looked at all these fruit trees, and the fruit trees on the left are the fruit trees that feed supplies to farmers. We give these trees away, but we give trees that are suited for particular environments. But we just didn't want to give dessert trees. You know, in temperate regions, we have apples, peaches, pears, cherries. They're delicious, but they don't fill your belly. And these people in poor countries need that sustenance. So we looked at breadfruit. And breadfruit was a tree that I grew up eating the fruit from. And it is a great nutritious staple crop that can replace a lot of the imported carbohydrates like imported rice and corn and wheat. So we focus on the breadfruit tree, and this is what it looks like. It's a big tree, and it produces about 300 fruit a year. Each fruit's about the size of a melon. So if you think of a melon, but instead of being sweet inside with a hollow center, almost the entire thing is filled with dense, nutritionally packed carbohydrates, rich in vitamin C, vitamin A, riboflavin, magnesium. In fact, the University of British Columbia once did a study on carbohydrates, and if a pregnant woman ate nothing but breadfruit for her entire pregnancy, she'd have a healthy baby. So this is just the ideal tree. It originated in the Pacific. Captain Bligh, the famous mutiny on the Bounty, He brought breadfruit trees to the Caribbean, and they've been eating breadfruit ever since. So this is what the inside of a breadfruit looks like. It's nutritionally dense. It's like a potato on a tree. But we knew that when the breadfruit produced its fruit, there'd be too much fruit all at once. So we worked at Trees That Feed to develop making breadfruit flour to preserve it. And we preserve it by using a solar dehydrator that my husband Mike designed. And it's a purely passive dehydrator. But if you can see the blue arrow at the side, that's cool air coming into these solar collectors. I like to think of them as when you lock your car in the summer and it gets very hot. So the air heats up and it goes through that area with the shells. So we put shredded breadfruit there, and then the moisture escapes and you're left with dry shredded breadfruit. So once the breadfruit is dry, it's now preserved. It can then be ground into flour. So we wanted to plant lots of breadfruit trees, but we had to source the trees because to get them, we really needed more trees. So we work with local entrepreneurs, and you grow breadfruit trees from the roots. So you harvest wild roots and you put them in a bed with sand, keep them moist for about 3 months, and little breadfruit plants pop up. You pop them, and then we buy them. So this gentleman lives in Jamaica, and we buy about 20,000 trees from him, and he grows them this way. And he is one of the people that we've seen lift right out of poverty just by growing trees for us. We have replicated this in Haiti in 4 different locations. And we're hoping that Rayjon will be one with another one that we can introduce this to. So who do we give the trees to? This is a typical group of people that we give trees to. We don't like to plant entire mountainsides with trees that in Haiti would be cut down. Instead, we find good stewards, and those good stewards are women for the most part. They take those trees home and they plant them in their backyard, and these trees become their living pantry. These trees will grow, they'll produce food, and these children of these mothers and their grandchildren will never be hungry. So how do you eat breadfruit? Breadfruit can be, it's usually peeled, and then you cook it just like you would cook a potato. You boil it, you fry it, you roast it. That's how it's done. But each tree will give you 300 fruit. So there's the opportunity of drying it, grinding it into flour, and selling it. And in Haiti last year, one group in southern Haiti was able to export a ton of breadfruit flour to the United States, and that was the first step. Jamaica exports breadfruit flour, and so does Puerto Rico. So I just want you to know that there's economic opportunity. It's new, but there is economic opportunity. This is a group in Haiti, and they have, this is what we call a factory in a box. And here's their little factory. That blue thing is their grinder. So you have to shred it like you'd shred cheese for tacos, grate it, put it in the sun, and then you grind it. And a lot of this is manual. And then you have more sophisticated equipment as well. So this is a cooking school. In Haiti, we do a lot of cooking schools. It's not a fancy North American cooking school, but we take breadfruit flour to a community. We have a cookout, and everybody goes home with a little breadfruit flour. And this is how they're taught, or how we teach people on what to do. And bakeries are using breadfruit flour. They're integrating it in traditional Haitian baked goods. We also give a lot of breadfruit flour to the elderly. They're able to take home those black bags with breadfruit flour, and they have something to sustain them on those hungry days. But here we are today. We're here to talk about Rayjon, and this is the nutritional program that we do with Rayjon. And here are some of the children being fed breadfruit flour porridge. So you take the breadfruit flour and you cook it just as you would cook oatmeal. And these kids are being fed with it. And we've been doing this since October 2017. And we're feeding tons of other children like this across Haiti just from trees. So I want to give a shout out to Rayjon. You guys are one of the best groups we work with. Everything you do well. You, my slides are advancing too quickly here, sorry. Any money that's given to Rayjon is money that's well spent because it will be used very carefully. So thank you so much for being supporters of Rayjon, and we can't say enough good things about you guys. So I always think of unintended consequence. We took on the green scene is the Dominican Republic, and the other scene is Haiti. We want this entire image to be all green if we can be successful. And this is what we want. Imagine every tree there that has a long life, absorbing a lot of carbon dioxide, which is the aim if you reforest, less landslides because those roots are holding the soil, and it will make Haiti healthier, more prosperous, better fed, and a cleaner environment for us all. So thank you guys. And we welcome you to reach out to our website, treesthatfeed.org, see what we do, and we're happy to work with you guys again. So thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mary. That was fabulous. There's a lot of new information that I definitely didn't know there. So thank you for sharing with us. Please keep those questions coming in the chat box. I will get us started here. I'm just going to share back my screen. Here we go. Okay, so we want to hear questions from everybody. Let's also take a quick break while you're starting to type your questions for another prize. So how about the first person who can enter in the chat box, or if you want to unmute yourself. Based on Mary's presentation, can you name 3 ways that breadfruit can be prepared or eaten? And the lucky winner will actually win one of these lovely breadfruit masks. I just tried mine this evening, and I have to say it's actually the most comfortable mask I've worn this whole pandemic. So this is actually an awesome prize. So start your questions, please, and we'll take the first winner as we see it pop up, or as we hear you give your answer. Mary, my first question that I'd like to ask.
I have an answer.
Oh, go ahead.
It can be made breadfruit salad, and it could be made into fries, and it could be made into chips.
Very nice. Okay, you'll have to identify yourself for me because my view right now, I can't see you.
Oh, Carol.
Okay, Carol, we'll get that prize to you. Thank you so much. And Mary, my first question for you is, with your background in geology and interest in the environment, did you start off thinking that your organization would be focused solely on the environment, or did you always know that there would be a connection to feeding people as well?
I thought it was going to be solely the environment. As a geologist, I've always been in tune with the environment, and I grew up on a farm. And as a geologist, I studied the great ice ages, and I realized how delicate our balance of our environment is. But living in the United States, it was hard to get any money to plant trees because there's so much controversy. And my husband, Mike, said, well, if you're going to plant trees, why don't you plant food producing trees? You'll get a 2-for-1. So we realized that we could help the environment, we could help people, and at the same time, we realized we were creating jobs. So we get a 3-for-1. And because of this, our educational activity book, which we have in Creole, French, English, it's now in, I think, 10 languages. We're also educating people. So by planting trees, we're doing a lot more.
Absolutely. Wow. And in Jamaica and other countries that you're seeing success with the breadfruit projects, how is it changing, or is it changing traditional diet at all? Are trees that feed foundation methods of drying and storing and grinding? Is that changing what people eat? And are you finding that people need a lot of education to know how to use breadfruit?
It's a new flour, and it's gluten-free, so it doesn't replace wheat 1-to-1. It's a supplement, and we don't expect it ever to replace wheat, but we want it to be just integrated into the diet. Imagine if 10% of the bakeries use 10% of their product as breadfruit flour, how that would help to reforest. But yes, we are seeing it being introduced in people's diets. We are seeing that change. And we're also seeing the fresh fruit being elevated to gourmet features in restaurants, which is nice. Hotels
Wow.
are starting to serve it, yeah.
That's fabulous. I believe I even saw an advert in that magazine that you had sent for breadfruit vodka, which I thought was fascinating.
Absolutely. There's a young man in the Virgin Islands, and he makes breadfruit vodka, and he's doing very well. In fact, Applebee's, a chain in the United States, are going to start serving it at their bar.
Wow, wow. And tell us about this process of cultivating breadfruit. So it sounds tricky. It's interesting that you're using root cultivation. Do you not use seeds? Is it?
Well, breadfruit's like a banana. The seeds are not viable because humans have interfered with the process as the Pacific people. Breadfruit originated in New Guinea, and as people took it in canoes across the Pacific, the seeds lost their ability to germinate. So you have to either propagate by roots or propagate by grafting. Central America does grafting, but the Caribbean tends to grow from roots.
Oh, that's fascinating. We have a question from the audience about how far north can breadfruit trees grow? Is that possible in Canada?
No, if you get frost, they die. So southern tip of Florida, that's as far north in North America as you can go. But remember, the hungriest people in the world are in the tropics. So we're really interested in feeding people who need more, who are food insecure, and creating a sustainable food source.
Mm-hmm. And that cycle that Trees That Feed uses is really incredible too. We're very grateful that the breadfruit flour that you're producing in some of your projects in Haiti, then you're returning that to other organizations like us, or finding schools where children can use it. So that's fabulous. Thank you so much for that.
And we are very grateful to you because you are helping to get it into the daily diet, because it's new. People have always been eating the fruit, but the thought of eating the flour is something brand new. So you are really serving our purpose at the same time as feeding the children.
Well, that's a good collaboration. How long before a tree will bear fruit? Is it a season, or do they last throughout the year?
It's a season. There are 2 seasons per year. There's a longer season in the summer and then a shorter season just around Christmas time. So, and it's because it follows the rain. Once it rains, it stimulates fruit production. So it's not an annual crop, but it's twice a year. And,
Okay.
you know, we have to educate a lot of farmers, and we do a lot of educational work with how to prune the trees, how to care the trees, how to plant them correctly, because if they're planted correctly, they can start to bear in 2 years. If they're not planted correctly, they have a slower start. It may take 4 or 5.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so I want everyone, please keep your questions coming in the chat box. We'll continue to work on those through the evening. We're not out of surprises yet, though. We actually have another guest speaker that I'd like to have everyone welcome and say hello to. We've done that. So we actually are really lucky tonight because we have on the line with us from Haiti, Mr. Rayjon Thomas, who is Rayjon Share Care Haiti's manager and community coordinator. He's also a highly educated and very experienced Haitian agronomist. And Rayjon, can I get you to just test your volume out? Can you say hello? We want to make sure that we can hear you. And then I'm going to tell everyone a little bit more about you.
I can't find him, Heather. I think he's dropped off.
Has he dropped off? Okay, well, we're going to hope that Rayjon is able to come back here.
And you know, we have known Rayjon for many years, because did I beat you to your question?
It's exactly what my question was. And here he's coming back on now. So yes, Mary, please tell us the story. Rayjon, hello. We want to have you say hello. We're just starting to talk about you. And I've asked Mary if she would share the story of how she knows you.
Well, about 7 years ago, we decided it would be a good idea to take Haitian agronomists to Jamaica, because Jamaica has massive forests. They value trees greatly. And if we thought if Haitian agronomists saw this, they would learn so much. So Renaud came to Jamaica, and we had the honor of taking him and other Haitian agronomists around the island to show them how green it was and to show them all the ways that we eat breadfruit.
Fabulous. And I understand Renaud had a little bit of a challenge getting there, but you guys were able to overcome that?
Absolutely, yes. And he helped us interpreting, because a lot of the Haitian agronomists couldn't speak English. So he was just perfect interpreter for us, and we value that.
Okay. Renaud, are you there? Can you hear us? I think Renaud still might not have sound. Renaud, when you come online, please do interrupt me, but I'll keep talking about you in the meantime. So Renaud is doing a fabulous job for Rayjon. We are so thankful to have him and so proud of the work he's doing. And one of his biggest roles is supporting the Haitian Women's Federation in the St. Marc area of Haiti. Now, the Haitian Women's Federation, this is a grassroots organization. They are over 350 members strong. They represent women's associations in 7 different rural villages in the St. Marc region. And Renaud has been doing a lot of work providing them with guidance and encouragement, helping them to access training. I've had the privilege of meeting several of these leaders, and I can tell you they are movers and they are shakers. Several of them recently attended one of those breadfruit schools that Mary was talking about. So these are women who have started to be trained to understand breadfruit, and they certainly now have a vision for what they want to do next. And what better way to learn about that vision than to actually hear from the women themselves? So here's an additional surprise for you tonight. We have this wonderful video made by the Haitian Women's Federation with help from Renaud and his team. So enjoy.
Haute Saint-Marc, c'est une section dans la commune Saint-Marc, dans le département de la Tibonite en Haïti. Dans Haute Saint-Marc, nous avons un pile ressources naturelles et un pile potentialité. Nous avons un pile jardin. Nous plantons patates, maïs, lame, mango, zaboka, diri. Ça veut dire nous vivons de l'agriculture. Pour raison ça, Fédération Femmes dans la 4e section Haute Saint-Marc voulait mettre tête ensemble avec RSCH pour mettre sous pied un moulin qui a transformé l'âme véritable en farine. Projet ça l'a bien pile importance pour Fédération Femmes à communauté et pour pays. Et la paix des femmes sorti dans situation côté qui difficile parce que nous pral transformer l'âme nan farine ça la paix de nous fait un paquet de série de l'autre bagaille et l'âme nous yo t'a gaspillé kounya la permettre l'âme yo plus conserver et mesdames yo tout a content communauté a content en pile des projets ça.
Grâce à projet ça, puis mesdames dans la zone pour avoir accès puis plus à un paquet de produits tant que maïs moulin, diri moulin, farine lame, farine patate, farine manioc et la trier. Mesdames dans la zone pour avoir accès pour acheter puis plus pour capable à le vendre et business a bien marché, ça permet vie mesdames à améliorer.
Communauté a besoin plus de services rapides, vinn moins de dépenses, surtout dans cause transport, parce que les gens ont besoin de moulin duri, pitimi, yo payer en pile couche machine pour yo joindre service ça. Ça fait yo pas joindre en pile bénéfice. Dans ce sens ça, projet ça vraiment utile moun qui dans communauté yo, parce que y a besoin de bon gens service en dans communauté.
Grâce à projet ça, Fédération Femmes nan pral vinn gen plus valeur, Fédération Femme nan pral élargi, Fédération Femme nan pral augmenter connaissance li, il pral gen en pile importance, il pral créer en pile belle bagay en dans communauté ya. Kon sa femme yo pral vin gen plus valeur tout en dans communauté ya, yo pral capable réaliser un paquet l'autre bagay derrière projet ça. C'est comme ça tout femme fédération femme nan lui-même li pral vin gen plus capacité, li pral vin vivre plus grand en dans communauté à côté tout le monde capable pral apprécier produit que yo pral mettre sous pied.
Importance projet ça gen pour pays non, li permettre plus moun jwenn travail pour répondre à besoin économie, li permettre ti moun à l'école plus bien pour prendre soin famille plus bien.
Pépinière l'âme, nous pourrons gagner dans le cadre du projet ça. Nous pourrons permettre de nous plus piller l'âme, nous pourrons permettre de nous rebraser zone, et la permettre de nous joindre plus l'âme pour nous transformer en farine.
Farine lam nous pral produit dans le cadre projet ça a bien en pile importance. Parce que farine lam nan, li bay force, li bay énergie, li bon pour santé moun. Li bon pour moun qui fait sucre, pour moun qui fait tension. Et yon nan pi gros importance farine lam nan gen, c'est que li conserve plus longtemps parce que lam nan. Et ça permet lam nou yo pas gaspiller encore.
Grâce à projet ça nous va gagner dans zone non, va gagner plus pied là. Et puis là ça va contribuer dans protection terre yo, surtout les là qui tomber pour éviter trop de dégâts faits dans l'environnement. Parce que les gains là qui tomber, des fois nous on perdit un paquet et bagaille. Surtout dans question bête nous yo, dans fruits nous yo, et qu'on gon paquet de bagaille nous on perdit par rapport à des rebrasements qui manquent dans la zone. Mais avec le projet, ça nous va gagner. Nous pouvons assurer certain, à travers plus de l'âme, nous pouvons avoir moins de dégâts faits dans l'environnement.
Jean nous entendez, mesdames, nous parler du projet. Le projet à lui-même, là, il y a une importance pour mesdames dans la communauté. Le projet à lui-même, là, il y a une importance pour la communauté. Le projet à lui-même, il va avoir une pile valeur pour la fédération. Il va permettre la fédération femme avancer et la gagner en pile relation dans la communauté. Et nous déjà dit merci avec RSCH pour toute valeur, pour tout support déjà porté pour nous réaliser le projet. Pour le projet à réaliser, nous avons besoin d'un paquet de support pour le projet à capable de réaliser. Et nous disons un grand merci avec tout le staff. RSCH a contribué avec nous pour faire le projet à réaliser dans la localité. Sans collaboration de tout le monde et puis le projet à lui-même capable d'avancer. Nous disons merci.
So we hope you understand now the vision of the Haitian Women's Federation and how we hope to work in partnership with Trees That Feed Foundation to make that vision a reality. I'm excited to be able to tell you tonight that just in the last month, the Haitian Women's Federation have become proud landowners. That you can see on your screen. The photo on the right is the same of land from a different angle. It shows you at the back that building that's in red there. That is actually the biggest marketplace in the village of Lagaran. So you can see how the plot of land is in such close proximity to the marketplace. It will be ideal to help the women get their products right to market. And Renaud has been working hard with some experts to draft up this preliminary plan. So the project overall they're looking at would be 3 to 5 years to get all of this up and running, but they're actually hoping to start in the next month building the temporary structure. So the women actually already own and operate the rice and corn mills, and people come from miles around from many different villages to use those. So the plan and the hope is in the next month to temporary structure and to get started on that tree nursery so that they can expand to breadfruit in the very near future. Let's try one more time here to see if we have Renaud. I know his connection has been coming in and out. So let's try again. Renaud, are you able to hear me and answer so we can take some questions for you?
No, he was on during the video for a while and then he got dropped again.
Okay, I think we've lost Renaud, but that is okay. I do want to open it up if anyone has any more questions for Mary or about the Haitian Women's Federation. I would certainly try and answer those. We still have a couple more things to talk about, but I want to give lots of time for questions.
I have a question. I'd like to know what people thought of the dessert that was made using the breadfruit flour.
I loved it. It was very hearty. I felt like I was eating something nutritious, so it didn't count as dessert. What did others think? Had a couple of people chatting that they liked it, enjoyed it. It was good. That's great. Regan says my 5-year-old had too. That's awesome. A question from Ryan. So Mary, maybe you could take this one for us. I think it was about lifespan and
Yes.
Is breadfruit an attractive source for charcoal? So do we have to worry about
No.
those trees being cut down? No.
It's actually not an attractive source for charcoal, and the trees live for about 100 years. And our whole purpose is we knew we just couldn't plant trees unless those trees had an economic benefit. You know, if you plant a timber tree, there's only one time you're going to get your money out of that tree, and that's the day you cut it down. But if you have a tree that's producing 2 crops a year, and we can develop a market, and that's why this program is so important, because here we would have the market for excess fruit. Then the trees become money trees. And the trees can then help to pay for medical care and clothing for the children and education. So it's a great way, we think, of reforesting and helping the environment by lifting people out of poverty.
Right. And Mary, with the growth that you've seen in Trees That Feed Foundation and the success of so many projects in multiple countries now, what's your vision of going forward? What do you hope happens next?
Well, Mike and I are 70, so we know we need to think of a legacy. But we may fold into an organization, one of our partner organizations. That's always a thought. And as long as we have strength and money and good partners, we are going to continue working, because it is so rewarding, and it's rewarding because we see the results. And in fact, you know, Trees That Feed, and I shouldn't talk about donors because this is your event, but many of the farmers that we have helped get established, primarily in Jamaica, then become our donors. So they see the results and they want other people to benefit as well. So when we buy trees from you, some of that money will be coming from the people we have helped in the past 10 years.
Wow. Okay. We have a question. How high up on the tree is the fruit? How do you get it picked up from the ground, or do you need to scale a tree?
Well, the trees need to be pruned. The trees that are just left to go wild, you lose a lot of fruit that are stuck up there, because the fruit goes all over the tree. It's it grows on the tips of the trees and under the canopy. But we have a massive program of educating farmers on pruning the trees, so you keep them small, so you can just stand maybe on a ladder and harvest the fruit.
Right. Okay. Wow. Thank you, Mary. You've been so helpful, and it's fascinating to learn more about this. We might have a couple more questions coming in, but I think that some of our audience tonight might be wondering how they can help. So first of all, we want to say a great big thanks to everyone that participated just by buying a ticket and enjoying that fabulous food from Dolly's tonight. You have helped. Proceeds from this evening's event, Culture and Cuisine, will be supporting the Haitian Women's Federation, helping them to get started with this vision to eventually expand into breadfruit. The other exciting thing I wanted to let everyone know is, for a limited time, we're actually selling these very trendy breadfruit shirts, and they're available in both men and women's sizes. To get in, it's a great gift idea. They come with a postcard that explains the impact of the gift. That's what that little picture on the right is showing. And now to get these guaranteed before Christmas, I actually have to place our order on Monday. So if you are interested in this shirt for a Christmas gift, please let me know. You can follow the link right from our website, rayjon.org, on ordering t-shirts, and it will give you everything you need to know there. We're also selling those breadfruit face masks for $15. And again, all proceeds from t-shirts and masks will certainly benefit this project as well. Keep in mind too, if you've been enjoying the Culture and Cuisine events, this is our second one. We do have a third one planned coming up in January, date to be announced, but that will be with a partner, our wonderful longtime partner at Sarnia Muslim Association. And we're certainly going to be keeping the updates coming from the Haitian Women's Federation as they get going, and as we start getting closer in the new year to March and International Women's Day, we'll be doing all kinds of continued fundraising for this project in particular, and hope to keep you all updated. It's really, really an exciting one for us. We have a survey, so please don't exit immediately. It would help us greatly to understand what you enjoyed from tonight, what we can do for our next Culture and Cuisine event. I want to award certainly another prize. So is there anyone who is brave enough to unmute themselves and share with us one thing you learned tonight or something that impressed you?
Breadfruit weighs 4 to 6 pounds?
No, if a pregnant woman only ate breadfruit, they would have a healthy baby. Sorry, we're having a family dispute on our answer right now.
So I think we can award that prize to the Dailies and allow them to fight over who that is. But that is fabulous, you guys. I'd also like to ask everybody, would you all unmute yourselves? We want to give a big round of applause to Mary for being a wonderful guest speaker. Mary, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, and I will stay online for a few more minutes. Mary, maybe we can ask that you do the same, just in case there are any questions that come in as people are answering the survey. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope that you thoroughly enjoyed yourselves at Culture and Cuisine. It's a pleasure to see you all tonight.